especially want to thank the local, because although I now have 11 union endorsements throughout the city, which is more than any other candidate running in any district, the IBEW was the first endorsing union. Which tells us the most important thing that you will hear tonight. Electricians are smarter than anyone else. Am I right? Woo! Now I came here because I thought, and your leaders agreed, that it would be good for members to hear a little bit about someone who they've backed for this election. So in the few minutes that you graciously have given me, I want to give a feel for why I'm running. In my 40 years as a union member, including having the honor of serving as president of my local union for 13 years, all I have ever cared about is one question. How do we give power to workers, and how do we build union power? And my basic philosophy, and this is what I'm running on, is that a paycheck is not red and it's not blue. It's the color of the bills that each of us can pay when we earn a fair wage. And I want to show you what I mean by that with two quick stories. And one of those stories goes back 30 years because I'm old. And one has just happened 1 month ago. On November 17, 1993, the House of Representatives was having its final debate on the passage of the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA. Now, I remember precisely where I was at that moment. I can see that image today, actually. I was at the UAW's Family Education Center in Upper Michigan. And I've been a proud union member, a proud UAW member for 32 years. And after the long days of conferences and discussions, many of us had gathered around a television set just like this to watch the final debate. It was actually a little smaller TV, as I remember it, and it was bolted up against the wall there, and we all were kind of gathered around it. We were looking up. And I remember looking up at the screen as the debate came to a close. And David Bonnier came to the podium in the well of the House. Now, Bonnier had represented the 10th Congressional District at the time, which took in a very conservative part of Upper Michigan. He was the majority whip of the House, the second-ranking person in the House. He was the highest-ranking Democrat in the Congress opposing NAFTA against the president of his own party. And he was a hardcore union supporter. I actually had the privilege of working with him later on starting an organization called American Rights at Work. Now, we in the labor movement, and I can look out in this crowd and see there's a lot of younger people here, so you may not have been around when this was happening, but we fought tooth and nail to defeat that agreement, because that agreement, NAFTA, we knew would be a knife in the back of every working person. It would be a knife in the back of my UAW union siblings. It would be a knife in the back of Mexican workers who would be forced to work in slave-like conditions because of this deal. And it would hurt every single community because it was about one thing: profits for big corporations and rich people, and crumbs for everyone else. Now that clip is only 7 minutes, and I made a little clip out of it. If people want to watch it, you can ask Marshall for it. I'll send it to him. It is one of the most inspiring speeches I've ever heard in Congress. And I want to quote just a few sentences from that because it says a lot about who I am. The working people who stand against this treaty don't have degrees from Harvard. They don't study economic models. Most of them have never heard of Adam Smith, but they know when the deck is stacked against them. These are the people who show their faith in this country every day. They take risks that people who make their fortunes in the stock market would never understand. They know we live in a global economy. They know we need new markets, but they also know, and this is the most important part, they also know the work of America is still done by the people who pack a lunch, who punch a clock, and who pour their heart and soul into every paycheck and we cannot afford to leave them behind. Now, this is the truth, folks, sisters and brothers, union siblings. It isn't the CEOs who make the profits for corporate companies. It's us, the working people, everyone in this room. The people in this room are the ones who make profits for the companies, not the CEOs.
Preach it.
Now, I will, and I am. NAFTA passed, and it was a symbol for what would happen decade after decade. Bad trade deals, CEO pay going up, financial scandals, and yes, public money going into non-union contractors. The same powers that wanted to shove NAFTA down our throats, they're basically the same powers that basically want to get rid of the prevailing wage and destroy every semblance of the working life you are trying to create here. So now let me run to the present, because it's always important to be positive. 1 month ago, the UAW had an incredible victory, my own union. By a 3-to-1 margin, 75%, we organized the Volkswagen auto plant in Tennessee. I'm sure many of you read about this and saw this on TV. Now, honestly, I was pretty nervous because I've been through these battles decade after decade where we tried to organize those so-called transplant plants owned by foreign companies, and we lost time after time. Not this time. In Tennessee, when you win so big in a county that voted comfortably for Donald Trump, this is what I said at the beginning of my talk. A paycheck is not red or blue. It's the color of the bills that each of us can pay when we earn a fair wage. And so as I end my few remarks here to you, and thank you again for your support, for the union support, people say that the system is broken in this city and in other cities. That's not true. The system is working fine for people like Phil Knight. The system is working fine for Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all those billionaires. It's exactly working as they designed it. And it's our job to change that system because it's not working for everyone else. And so it's a mistake, and frankly, I see this from my other fellow candidates who are running, who just seem to point to one particular issue or think that we're going to make a greater city just by being nice to each other. No, it's the bigger system that uses our labor without giving us our fair share. People who are homeless, my friends, can't afford the damn rent because paychecks are too small. We are the richest nation in human history. It is unimaginable that we can't make it so that every single person has a decent paycheck and lives with dignity and respect. And I hope to change that. I can't do that on my own. I'm not a dictator. I would love to have a majority labor council. I'm working very hard with people like Marshall, other political directors, other unions, and other candidates. Now, one of the things I love about the people here and the IBEW, you have set a standard of a fair living. And you are a light for many people, even though you may not know that. I often talk when I go and I have these house parties. I talk about how the metro minimum wage in Portland, which will go up to $15.95 an hour on July 1st, it's celebrated, right, as this great accomplishment. But it's still a poverty wage level for a family of four. And nowhere near the $53 an hour wage that a licensed electrician gets in Multnomah County. Prevailing wages and project labor agreements aren't some abstract idea. They are the core. They are the core of earning a decent living. And so if I am lucky enough to earn the votes of the people of District 2 every day, with my 40 years, my proud 40 years of union life, I will walk into the job challenging my colleagues for one thing. What are we doing today to make sure that people can earn a decent living? Because that is the way we will create the kind of life that we want for all of us, for our families, our friends, and our community. Thank you very much.
Woo!
You can correct me then.